The other day when we were building up my new BMX, a Sunday discovery with all my spare parts that were left over from my old Proper, a lot of questions came up. A lot of interest for stuff about this as to why it's either like different or like kind of quirky, not the same as what you would see on other bikes, like the other bikes that have just like predominantly been featured on this channel. So first and foremost, let's talk about Bmx Geometry. To the untrained eye, I think you'd be forgiven for thinking that a BMX itself might just be a glorified version of this pink single speed 20-inch kids bike. I mean, you're not wrong, but there's like enough changes and enough differences that you are wrong. Bmx Geometry is really weird when you look at the numbers compared to other bikes on the market, most modern bikes. Head tube angles, they float around like 75 degrees. Road bikes, 73. So significantly steeper already. You look at mountain bikes these days, we're in the low 60s, 75. You'd be really hard pressed, excuse the pun, to find a non-press fit bottom bracket on a bike. Most of them are the mid bottom bracket standard. One bizarre thing that wasn't bizarre to me before I got into every other bike, the bottom bracket height is actually measured from the ground to the center of the bottom bracket, which is a really inaccurate way of measuring bottom bracket height because different tire sizes. So it's not measured in bottom bracket drop, it's measured in bottom bracket height. And then another weird quirky thing about geometries is standover height is actually the just the length basically of the seat tube. And then last but not least on this high level discussion, you've got like different chainstay lengths. They'll go anywhere from like 14.5 down to the lowest, like the smallest I think I've seen is 12.4 inches for chainstay length. The shorter it is, the snappier, the easier it is to pick that front end up. But at the same time, the less stable and the easier it is to loop out. Okay, those numbers, all in inches instead of millimeters, all somewhat quirky and totally different than what you would normally see on other geometry charts that you look at for, say, a mountain bike. Now, the second quirky thing, why is the whole drivetrain on the left side of the bike? And it is significantly less of a complicated answer than you think. The whole reason that you switch the side of your drivetrain is purely based on your dominant grind sides. And if you're going to be grinding and sliding on rails and concrete often enough, it wreaks havoc to a steel peg, but it wreak even more havoc at this area is just constantly getting bombarded and hit. You'd break chains all the time. So to avoid that, the simplest solution was just take the drivetrain from the traditional right side and make a left side drive system for the people who are right side grind dominant. Quirkiness 3, they all use integrated head tubes, and they're all, like I'm fairly confident in saying they're all Campy standard integrated headsets. That's 45 by 45 Campy sizing bearings. That's right. So all still straight steer integrated headsets, Campy style. I do not see BMX going to tapered head tubes like ever. There's no need for it. Brakes, obviously I don't have any brakes. You'll see a lot of brakeless riders, straight cable rider, and then you'll see like a fair amount of gyro riders. Straight cable, very straightforward. Yes, you can still bar spin with a straight cable to do. See, here's the GTMX with its cable wrapped around the bars a bunch of times. Basically, you just wrap it around in the other direction that you throw bar spins so that you can do a few bar spins and still not have the cable all wrapped up. Stems, they are just machined out of blocks of aluminum. BMX stems are like crazy beefy. I've had this fly bike stem for like 15, maybe more years. They also come in front load and top load style. Front load stems look better. Wheels aren't like that weird, but it's worth keeping in mind because I always forget they come in 36 and 48 hole, where everything else comes in like 32 and under. Also, the hub spacing, 100 millimeters in front, but then the rear, 110. So no compatibility between a BMX rear hub spacing and anything else. And then the last thing that I think is quirky that we should talk about is seat post diameter and like the style of all freestyle frames use a 25/4 seat post. The coolest thing, and this came out like years and years ago, everybody has probably seen it at this point, is the pivotal seat post integration. So there's no rails. It basically just takes the idea of an old railed seat post and takes the bottom section where you get your tilt from, attaches it literally to the seat with a bolt through it, and then you can adjust your tilt that way. You don't get any fore and aft movement out of it at all. And yeah, that's it. I don't think there's anything else that's like particularly quirky other than the fact that you can take the brake mounts off of these so they look a little cleaner. I guess that answers the one most pressing question, what is the deal with the drivetrain on this, and offers a bunch more information on other strange, weird quirks between the BMX world, Bmx Geometry, Bmx Parts, versus everything else that maybe we're a little more familiar with.